Greetings, Commanders! Mini here, welcome back to another episode of Elite Dangerous. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the differences in between the live and current server of Elite Dangerous and the beta server, mainly the shield changes that have been made to the game. So let's start with the Federal Annihilator Corvette. Now this ship is fully modified, and with the current shield booster layout of 4 heavy-duty shield boosters and 2 augmented shield boosters with a 7A prismatic overcharged, or what was it, heavy-duty reinforced shields, I sit at about 5,055 megajoules of shield. Now, the base shield value on this shield generator without any shield boosters is around 1,273.4. Now, adding in shield boosters, there are no diminishing returns while adding shield boosters currently on the live server. I've went and actually gone and done all the math. So, warning, math content ahead. If you don't like math, go ahead and skip over this part. Or not, if you enjoy the numbers, that's what I'm here for. So let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what happens when you add shield boosters onto a ship like this on the live server. So the stock value of the 7A Prismatic Shield Generator with a reinforced level 5 augmentation that is not perfect because of material limitations for me. I'm sitting at about 1,273.4 megajoules of shield. Now the modification value increase is about 203% or 35.6%. I got a higher roll than this on the test server, so I will be showing the values there. But base shield value with this modification is around 1,273. Once we add our first shield booster, which grants us an additional 65.7%, you can see that we go up from 1,273.4 to 2,110.5. So basically, according to the math, with this shield generator, I get 836.6238 megajoules of shield. That's basically taking the base shield of the ship, which is 1,273.4, multiplying that by 0.657, and that gives us a projected shield value bonus of about 836.6238 megajoules of shield with a 65.7% bonus to shields. Now, if we add in the base value of the shield, that gives me exactly, according to the math, 2,110.0238. However, in the game, it goes up to 2,110.5. So overall, it's only off by about half a decimal place, even though the math is completely accurate due to the numbers that I can see. There's probably something a little bit more detailed on the back end that is not accounted for in my calculations, but I noticed a very small deviation in between actually putting the shield booster on versus its quote-unquote shield boost percentage gain versus the base value of the shield. So that's how shield boosters work. Whenever you put a shield booster on, it doesn't take into account value of the shield if it already has a shield booster on it. It only takes it from the base shield value. Let's move on to the next one. My other shield booster gives me a 64.4% bonus. If we do the math again, that's 1,273.4 times 0.644. That gives me 820.0696 megajoules of shield, which according to the math should bring me up to about 2,930.0934 megajoules of shield. But as you see here on the bottom, it actually gives 2,931.1. So I have about a 1 megajoule difference on the math there, but it is very close. Moving down, we've got our third shield booster, which gives us 63.6% shield boost bonus, which, of course, once again, once we do the math, that's 1,273.4 times 0.36, and that equals 809.8824 megajoules of shield, bringing us up to the mathematical value of 3,739.9758. The actual server value is 3,741.6. So as far as the difference on that, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm looking at 3739.97 versus 3741.6. So, like once again, just about a 1.5 megajoule shield difference. So you can see the further down the line I go that the megajoule shield difference is going to be like a little bit higher than, you know, what my math actually came out to, but it's very, 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 very close. Moving down to our fourth heavy-duty shield booster. This one gives us 63.1% bonus after doing the math. Once again, 1,273.4 megajoules of shield base multiplied by 0.631. That gives us an 803.5154 megajoule shield bonus, bringing us up to the mathematical value of 4,543.4912. But on the actual server, it's 4545.7, as you can see down here on the bottom where the blue is. So the previous mathematical value of 4543.5-ish goes up to 4545.7. So about a 2 megajoule shield difference there due to the math. Moving on to my resistance augmented shield boosters. Both of these have a 20% bonus. You'll also notice that the kinetic, thermal, and resistance values are up at around 17 to 18% on this one. Once we add this one, it brings up to 4,804, a 20% shield boost with this base shield value of 1,273.4. Sorry, you're going to hear that a lot. Is around 254.68 megajoules by itself. 254.68 megajoules exactly, according to the math, bringing us up to 4,798.1712. But if you see here, it's 4,800.4. So once again, there's a little bit of a discrepancy, but only about 2.4 megajoules so far. So let's go ahead and throw this one on the ship. Adding another shield booster that also adds an additional 254.68 megajoules. Bringing us up to 5,052.8512 megajoules of shield according to the math, but on the live server, it's 5,055 megajoules of shield even. So you can see that on the live server, shield boosters don't have a reduction, depending on how many you throw on it. So technically you could run all heavy-duty shield boosters and just get a massive tank. But with having the ability to add extra resistance values, that also increases the effective hit points of your shield's tank. However, there are diminishing returns, I should say, on resistances, but that's something I don't really think I want to look into at the moment because the math is a little bit more complex there. But let's go ahead and jump on the beta server and take a look at the ship. One thing to keep in mind on the beta server, I've been tweaking a few things here and there, getting better shield boosters, but you can basically see the stark difference in between the live server and the beta server, and how exactly these diminishing returns come into effect to actually deal negative returns to actually how much shield you can have on your ship. And we can take a look at that in depth in just a few seconds. Be right back. Okie dokie. So welcome to the test server, or the beta server, whatever you want to call it. Looking at the base shield value on my Federal Corvette. Now this one has a much higher optimal strength value because of my extreme amount of time spent throwing fish at Marco Quint. It has a optimal strength bonus of 212%. But another thing that Frontier has mentioned is that they are also going to be increasing the total shield value of the big three, being the Anaconda, the Federal Corvette, and the Imperial Cutter. So with this in mind, I didn't really do a double check because I was messing around with stuff on the test server with these shields before that change was made. So I don't have a base level comparison to actually see what my base shields are versus the exact roll that I had on my 7A Prismatics versus what they turned into now with these new shield changes. Otherwise, we can take a look at it. The base value of these shields are 1,482.6. So let's go down the line. So let's see how. Let's go to our utility mounts and throw in our first shield booster. Our first shield booster gives us a 66% shield boost bonus. Now, according to the math, by taking the base value and multiplying it by 0.66, and that gives me a boost of 978.516 megajoules, which brings it, according to the math, up to 2,461.116. And if you see here, it's very close to that. So your first shield booster has no diminishing returns. However, once we move on to the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, it really starts to take a huge hit. So let's take a look. Our second shield booster Gives us a total of 65.7% bonus. According to the math, that's 1,482.6 times 0.657, giving us a theoretical bonus of 974.0682 megajoules of shield. However, if you look here, according to the math, theoretically, I should be at 3,435.1842 megajoules of shield. But if you see here, I'm at not 3,435 or 3,436, but I'm at 2,974.7. After doing the math, that's a loss of 460.4842 megajoules of shield. That kind of sucks. It just gets worse, trust me. Moving on to the next one. So if we take a look at our third shield booster, this one gives us a 65.7% shield boost. So we'll do the math again, 1,482.6 times 0.657 for the percentage value. Granted, from the shield booster, that gives us a shield boost theoretical bonus of 974.0682 megajoules of shield. Now we add that to the previous total of these shields, and that should have us with the previous total of 2,974.7 megajoules of shield plus 974.0682, which equals 3,948.7682 megajoules. That's not what happened. This one we actually come down to 3,244.6. Our actual gain in megajoules was 269.9 instead of that. So we'll take our theoretical value of 3,948.7682, subtract the actual value, and that gives us our loss of megajoules, which is 704.1682 megajoules of shield. Our fourth and final heavy-duty shield booster gives us a bonus of 64% even. And that bumps our shield up to 3,411.4. However, it should be more. Keep in mind, we have diminishing returns, so we have to take that into account. So what exactly did it do? Well, we'll take the base shield value, 1,482.6, multiply by, again, this shield value bonus of 0.64, or 64%, and that should give us our shield value of 948.864 megajoules of shield. Take that into account with the previous value that we got with diminishing returns. The previous shield value was 3,244.6. We'll add that 948.864 megajoules onto that, and our shield without diminishing returns should be at 4,193.464 megajoules. But it's not. It is at 3,411.4, meaning we got 166.8 megajoules from that grade 5 heavy-duty shield boosters. 166.8 megajoules. That's it. So basically at this point, after 4 shield boosters, we're losing about 782.064 megajoules of shield. After that, it's just worse and worse. So our last 2 shield boosters are resistance augmented shield boosters. We're at 3,411.4. Before we throw this next shield booster on here, let's go ahead and go over the math. So 1,482.6 times 0.2 should give us 296.52 megajoules of shield, right? No, because if we take the 3,411.4 and add that 296.52 to it, we're looking for a value around 3,707.92. So remember that, 3707.9. We throw a resistance augmented shield booster on here, and instead of getting 3,707.92, we get 3,450. We got a grand total of 38.6 megajoules from that Class A shield booster, and our total megajoule loss was 257.92. We're expecting 296.52, but we got 38.6. So a very, very, very hefty nerf. Basically, after your third shield booster, it just gets less and less. That's our max shield value. The Federal Annihilator Corvette went from having 5,055 megajoules of shield down to 3,483.5. And keep in mind, this is also using higher modded modified modules than what I have on the live server. I mean, it's not perfect, but you know, I'm not going to throw this much fish at them just to get quote unquote perfect values, but I'll get close enough to it. But basically, we've gone from 5,055 megajoules of shield, which with practically the same resistances, down to 3,483.5. So according to this chart, we can see the exact shield booster value, all stacked up. We can see the projected gain and then the actual gain due to diminishing returns. So on our first shield booster with 66%, we have a projected gain of 978.516 megajoules. We got 978.516 megajoules. Going down the list, we get less and less, from 974 and 974 and 978 and 296 and 296. We get 513.2, 269.9, 166.8, 38.6, and then 33.5. So the current test server overall shields with these exact values on these shield boosters on the test server are at 3,483.5. I did the math, and according to the theoretical non-diminishing return shield value, I should have had a shield value of 5,951.1564 megajoules of shield. Now these shield values, of course, are currently theoretical. Frontier has said that they are not exactly going to be doing this. This is something they want to kind of push out and see how the community views it. So keep that in mind. This might be a thing that could very well much change how you build your ships, and it could be just like, everyone hates this, let's not do this, and, you know, piss off our, you know, our user base. So keep that in mind. But there's another way to tank your shields. One other thing to note, one thing that does kind of, sort of, balance all this out. If we look at the optional internal, and we take the modded shield generator, we browse the shop, and we look at the 7A Prismatic shield generator. One thing to note here is that the regeneration rate and the broken regeneration rate have been increased significantly. Not only for prismatics, but for standard shield generators as well. So regen rate is how fast your shields come back in combat. So right now on a stock 7A prismatic, it's 1.7 megajoules per second. On this shield generator, it's 1.5. Not a huge loss because I got a good roll, and my live server shield regeneration rate is just about the same. But you'll see here that the regeneration rate is much faster. I believe on the live server, my regeneration rate is at around 0.8 or 0.9 megajoules per second. So it's almost doubled the amount of regeneration rate you get on the beta. Now, if you also look here, we have a 2.9% regeneration per second for your standard 7A shield generator, and 7.3 megajoules per second when it's offline or down or trying to recharge, you know? But if you look at the bi-weaves have a tremendous regeneration rate of 8.8 megajoules per second. So the meta might be changing towards something with very high shield resistances, with high maneuverability, weight reduction for speed, a little bit of extra armor tank, with a high regeneration rate with high resistances. So you might see more ships running around with thermal resist shields rather than heavy duty reinforced shields, and looking for a secondary effect like a bonus to regeneration rate. Something more along the lines like this. So this shield has a very, very high thermal resistance cap. It also has a very, very fast regeneration rate of 9.5 megajoules a second. I got a secondary bonus plus a really nice roll on the thermal resistance. And that brings my tankiness level up very high. But keep in mind, the bi-weave shield generator, yes, it does have a high amount of regeneration rate. But a high regeneration rate shield is really only going to help you if you have a very maneuverable ship and you're able to stay out of line of fire, or you're able to kill your ships very fast, or stay out of their firing arcs. Exactly what I'm going to do once this patch drops. I'll probably be doing some more testing. But it looks like anything you add after that third shield booster probably just needs to go into resistances. So you might want to run 3 heavy-duty shield boosters, and then maybe 3 augmented resistance shield boosters, or maybe 3 heavy-duty, 2 augmented, a chaff, and 2 heat sinks, or add more shield cell banks and add more heat sinks so you can compensate for that. It's really changing the meta and the dynamic of how you want to build your ships, but in the end, it's up to you. Me personally, I'll probably be sticking with the Prismatics because I like that heavy-duty shield tank. I've got enough shield cell banks to be able to, take some hits and keep that damage going out. The ship's decently maneuverable with the way I have it modded, and I'm very familiar with the Corvette, so I can swing it around if I need to get hits on them with those huge guns. It really comes down to we'll have to play around with it and see what works for us personally for our playstyle. Another thing is, well, why can't you run like a heavy-duty bi-weave? So let's look at that. I have one of those prepared. This is a heavy-duty reinforced shield generator. So with these same shield boosters, I'm at about 2,227.7 shields. The regeneration rate is about 7.6. The broken regeneration rate is about 7.6. On the modifications, we did not get a regen rate bonus, which I wasn't really going for. I was mainly going for the very, very high shield value, and that's what I got. I mean, a maxed out roll is around 40%, so 39.6 isn't bad. But yeah, I mean, our thermal resistance is great. Our explosive resistance is pretty good. Our kinetic resistance is pretty good as well. But something to keep in mind, this is a kind of a balanced shield. If you don't have access to prismatics, and you want a fast charging shield or a hybrid shield, so a reinforced shield with the reduction to broken regen rate and regeneration rate can be compensated by the fact that it also gains a resistance bonus and an overall shield value increase. So you might see more people running with reinforced bi-weaves because they regenerate much, much faster compared to the current live server values for the bi-weaves. So something to keep in mind. Any 3 could work. You could run with standard shields, you could run with bi-weaves, you could run with prismatics. It really depends on how you want to build and match your shields with your playstyle, and also depending on ship maneuverability, gun layout, internal slots, all that stuff. One more thing that I want to note before I do close this video off is certain ships are getting additional internal slots, and these are going to be in the core internal. For example, the Federal Corvette has 3 more additional Class 5 slots for defensive modules. So you can put hull reinforcement, module reinforcements, or additional shield cell banks. Class 5 shield cell banks, even in A rank, only last for 5 seconds. So 48 times 5, that's maybe 240 megajoules of shield, and that's it. So, I mean, it's kind of a stopgap. You still have a 540 units of thermal load that punches into your ship. Difference between a 5A and a 5B is the exact same thermal load with a little bit less shield reinforcement, but extra ammunition. I will probably be going for armor instead, because after running all the totals with, like, way more hull reinforcement packages and stuff, I can actually have more armor than I had shield value before, so possibly having a bi-weave shield generator that can come back quicker, or the ability to run prismatic shields and then slow all the way down and let your armor take a beating while you reboot your systems to get your shields back up, and then pop shield boosters or shield cell banks to get your shields back up to fighting condition, could also be a very viable option. Just wanted to bring this to y'all's attention. If you have any more questions about the beta server, feel free to hit me up. If I missed anything, let me know. Anyway, Commanders, I've rambled on long enough. I hope you did like this look into the beta tester, the beta server, and possible, not confirmed, but possible shield changes coming to the test server and to the live server. So yeah, take a look at that on the forums, and let me know what you think down in the comments. In the meantime, Commanders, this is Mini for Elite Dangerous Tips and Tricks. If you did like the video, please do like the video, and feel free to subscribe. Bleh. This is Mini, signing out.